I mentioned in my last video that I can really identify with women in menopause who struggle with insomnia. Well, clearly, I don't suffer with hot flashes or night sweats, but I do wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. several nights a week, and I really struggle with getting back to sleep. I've been dealing with insomnia for maybe 5 years now, and it can feel pretty discouraging, even kind of hopeless at times. Am I ever going to be able to get consistent sleep night after night? When will I sleep through the night more than just 2 or maybe 3 nights a week? Well, in this video, I want to walk you through my personal sleep supplement stack. These are the specific targeted nutritional supplements that I've been using, at least occasionally, why I chose them, and how they line up with what the research says actually works for improving sleep. I've taken a deep dive into that research to find out both what should work for me, but also what's supposed to work for women in menopause. I do not recommend that you start taking all of these supplements. I've had some success with some of them, but it's best if you, number one, talk with your healthcare practitioner before you make any major changes, even with nutritional supplements. And number two, if you do decide to try some of these supplements, I would recommend you start taking one at a time and give each one a trial for maybe several weeks and see if it makes a difference, and then you might want to move on. So we'll start with L-theanine. This is one of my go-to supplements for sleep. I take 400 milligrams at bedtime. It doesn't knock me out, but what it does do is help me to calm my brain. It softens that anxious, sort of wired but tired feeling that tends to flare up late at night. And there's some solid research behind L-theanine. There are some studies that show L-theanine helps people fall asleep faster, and it improves your sleep quality, especially when it's paired with other calming compounds, and I'll mention some of those later. One woman said, L-theanine calms my brain for sure, but it doesn't stop me from staring at the ceiling at 3:07 a.m. wondering what the hell is wrong with me. Well, that quote really hit me because I've felt the same frustration. L-theanine does help, but it's not always enough by itself. Now, I haven't added GABA to my stack just yet, but I'm seriously considering it. GABA is the main calming neurotransmitter in the brain. It tells your nervous system to sort of settle down. There are some studies that show that oral GABA, usually in the 100 to 200 milligram range, can help people fall asleep faster and spend more time in what's called non-REM or deep sleep. What makes GABA especially interesting to me is its connection with hormones. When you take oral progesterone, your body converts that progesterone into a compound called allopregnanolone. And that metabolite of progesterone acts directly on GABA receptors in the brain. And that's why so many women say oral progesterone is a sleep miracle. It ramps up that calming GABA activity. One woman told me oral progesterone is the first thing that let me sleep through the night in months, maybe years. But there is a flip side to oral progesterone. A small percentage of women experience something called progesterone intolerance. The same GABA-A receptor, that activity can also weirdly cause anxiety, dizziness, or even serious depression. GABA supplements aren't the best thing for everybody, but they might be worth trying for some women. I want to talk about Glycine, which is one of the most underrated supplements in my stack. I take somewhere between 3 and 6 grams of glycine at bedtime. That's 3 to 6 capsules. Each has 1 gram apiece. Right now, I'm taking glycine as a part of a supplement stack called Gly-NAC, which stands for glycine and N-acetylcysteine. Gly-NAC has been studied for its effects on glutathione levels, oxidative stress, mitochondrial function, inflammation, and a list of aging hallmarks. You don't necessarily have to know what all that means, but there's some evidence that it helps protect the brain. The research on glycine alone shows that it helps to lower your core body temperature, and that's where its sleep benefits come into play. When your core temperature drops, your brain sees that as a signal that it's time to wind down, and that's a key part of how your body transitions into sleep mode. In fact, when people talk about your circadian rhythm, what they often miss is that temperature changes are a big part of your circadian rhythms. Honestly, we should probably call it your circadian temperature rhythm. Glycine doesn't knock me out. It doesn't make me feel instantly sleepy, but it's a subtle, steady support that helps shift my body temperature in the cooler direction. And that might help encourage my body to stay asleep at least for a while. Not to mention, keeping the room cooler also might help. One woman said glycine gave me great sleep for 2 whole weeks, and then back to square one. She said, I swear my body adapts to everything. So for some people, glycine is maybe a short-term fix. And now, what about melatonin? Well, I don't take melatonin every night. My wife takes it pretty regularly. The main reason is melatonin is really best for falling asleep and not for staying asleep. The evidence backs that up, and so does my personal experience. Most nights, I really don't have any trouble falling asleep. 5 minutes and I'm gone. So I don't always find melatonin all that necessary. When I do use it, I actually have to confess I've taken kind of a high dose, about 6 milligrams. That's higher than the commonly recommended range. You might want to start at 0.5 milligram. One woman talked about melatonin this way. I took melatonin last night and it gave me nightmares. At least it knocks me out for 6 hours. I just want to stay asleep. If you're somebody who struggles to fall asleep in the first place, melatonin might be a useful tool. But if your main problem is waking up at 2 or 3 a.m., melatonin might not be the best answer for that. Now let's talk about magnesium. Magnesium is one of those nutrients where different forms serve different functions. I kind of need to figure out which one works best for me. I've also tried magnesium citrate before, but not consistently and not really for sleep. I mostly use it for leg cramps. There's solid evidence that magnesium citrate can reduce how long it takes to fall asleep and improve your overall sleep quality, especially in older adults. I haven't really used magnesium glycinate yet, but it's another one that I'm planning to try at some point. Magnesium glycinate is known to be calming, and it's also a lot easier on the gut than the magnesium citrate is. Now, there are several sleep-related supplements that I don't currently take. One called 5-HTP, or 5-hydroxytryptophan, is an herbal supplement that kind of acts like an SSRI antidepressant. It can support melatonin production. If your insomnia is tied to your mood or you find yourself feeling low in the evenings, 5-HTP might be worth looking into. I always recommend some caution if you're already taking an antidepressant or anything that affects your serotonin levels. You want to talk to your healthcare practitioner about whether you should take 5-HTP. Tart cherry juice contains a small amount of natural melatonin plus some anti-inflammatories. It's subtle, but for some women, especially those women who are sensitive to traditional sleep aids, tart cherry juice might make a meaningful difference in sleep time. One woman told me, tart cherry juice is the one thing that helps me sleep without that weird hungover fog. I'll take subtle and steady over knockout punches any day. Valerian Root has been around forever. It's an herbal sleep remedy. One woman said valerian smells like dirty socks and works about as well. I was desperate enough to try it anyway. And then there's CBD. One woman said, I slept like the dead after taking CBD. It was the first time in years that I didn't wake up terrified at 3 a.m. I cried in the morning from relief. Well, the research is still emerging, but some people swear by CBD. I don't know that there's a ton of evidence behind it. Ashwaghanda may help reduce your cortisol or those stress hormone levels to help kind of calm that monkey mind and encourage sleep. Here's the honest truth. Even with all these dialed-in supplements, glycine, L-theanine, magnesium, melatonin, I still wake up in the middle of the night 3 or 4 nights a week. My sleep stack has helped, I think. I definitely fall asleep more easily than I used to, but it's not always helping enough to get me where I want to be. What I'm aiming for is a consistent, restorative 7-hour-a-night sleep. The kind that helps you think clearly and stay focused and actually feel like yourself during the day. And honestly, I'm not quite there yet. And that's why I've made an appointment to talk with a sleep specialist about a strategy that's been shown in multiple clinical trials to be the single most effective treatment for insomnia. This treatment doesn't involve any supplements at all. This strategy works whether your insomnia is coming from menopause or from stress or from chronic overthinking or just a broken sleep cycle that refuses to reset. So if you're looking for something more than just another pill or another capsule or another powder, watch my next video that's all about the sleep strategy that has the most scientific evidence behind it. I'll look forward to seeing you there.